Now some days when we go fly fishing, it all seems to be happening for us. We see the fish move, get a bite or two early, but obviously it's not a perfect world. Sometimes on a cold morning like this in winter especially, it might take a bit more work to get the fish. So hopefully today I'm going to give you a couple of tips and ideas to help you catch on those days when things are a bit tricky. So the first bit of advice I'm going to give you for any tough days, don't stay rooted to the spot. As well as your rod and reel, it's your feet and your eyes that really have to work if it's not happening. So I'm always trying different areas of the lake and different depths. And just by looking around at some of the features on the lake, on most of these lakes, we can tell where the deep water is. Whether it's the lay of the land or one of these stone monks, we always know there'll be deep water. That'll be the deepest point of the lake. So if I'm not getting any bites, perhaps some deeper water might help. So that's where I'm going to try next. So say we've had a few casts and nothing's happening. Here's something you can try on really hard cold days, and that is, I'm going to start by getting a really nice long line out. And then what I'm going to do is count down not to 5 or 10, I'm going to count down to 20 or even 30 and get that fly really close to the bottom. So I'm going to be really patient, I'm going to do nothing for a minute. And then once I've counted to say 20 or even 30, I'll start my retrieve, and I'll start with a couple of really good pulls just in case there's a fish sitting close to the bottom that's going to hit. And another tip for this, if you like to use a floating line, good idea is to make your leader a little bit longer and use a really nice heavy fly like a lead head or a dog knobbler or something like that. Another quick tip is really to mix up your retrieves. Quite often it's contrary to what you think, but if you're seeing fish but they're not taking, quite often it pays to pull a bit faster if anything. Just try and trigger them if they're looking at it but not taking. And I like short strips like this. And the reason for that is rather than long ones is because if I do get a take, I've got lots of space to strike into. Whereas if I make long strips, I'm less in touch. You can see tiny little fly, very slow subtle take, and then suddenly that was on the other end. A beautiful silvery fish. What I'm not going to do is get him out and put him all over the bank for a grip and gwin kind of shot, because he's going to return a lot better in this cold water if I just let him get on his way. One thing to constantly remember when you're fishing and conditions change is that the position of the fish in the water, the level they're at, can change quite dramatically. Now it's a bit milder today, they might be up towards the surface a bit more. So one thing I really like trying, it's a river tactic for most people, but that's to fish New Zealand style. So I've just set up with a small dry fly as an indicator, no more than 2 feet or so below it. A little nymph, and I'm going a little bit lighter because it's very wind still and the water's cold and clear. So I'm going to break down to about 5-pound line and quite a small fly. That's a size 14 dialback, a brilliant fly for these waters. It's been about half an hour since I last taken. Interestingly, just as it's become a bit more overcast and mild, we've seen some fish down the edges. And this one's taken really close into a quicker retrieve. And that's hooks falling out in the net, which is always nice to see. A good quality rainbow. I'm not going to drag him out too much for a grip and gwin, but he'll go straight back. Beautiful fish. About 3 pounds, I'd imagine.